Hello, guys and gals. We are on podcast number 7 of the Overkill podcast. I'm your host, Meta, and I'm here with Kirby, baby.
Yo.
Made it to 7. That means we're almost at 2 months. 2 months. This week, the news is pretty sad, actually. But I guess we'll start off with COD Season 2. As y'all probably know, I don't pay too much attention to COD anymore, but I'm sure Kirby does.
Yeah, COD Season 2 was basically the only thing they added was Das House, which is, not an original map. It's from Call of Duty Vanguard, which was kind of disappointing. And for some reason, before this update, I really wasn't having like any sort of server issues. The game was like pretty smooth overall. And then after this update, the servers were kind of they were like lagging a lot and it like freezing and stuff like that.
Yeah. And
I think the only cool thing they added was one of the sniper rifles, you can put iron sights on it, and they added the COD 4 red dot. That's about
cool.
it. Yeah.
COD 4 red
so
dot.
Season...
Pug. Woo.
Yeah, it was mostly just like nostalgia.
Oh, fuck. COD 4 fucking red dot. Alright. Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. Okay. I mean, sounds like a shit update, but I'm not surprised.
Yeah.
Yeah,
100%. The like melee weapon, it gives you like a first person execution.
Okay.
From like, and you can also attack from the front with like the execution. It's interesting. And it also has like I think it has a secondary fire mode where you like will block, which is interesting. When out of all the melee weapons, it's the most unique one they've ever added. Yeah. Normally with the melee weapons, it's just kind of like, oh, this is a baton, so the hits are weaker, but it comes out faster. It's like, it's like basically a different way,
Yeah. It's just, yeah. Sure. Yeah. I know they're always trying that crazy shit, so I can't say I'm surprised.
Yeah.
But yeah. Okay. Well, there you go. I guess going back to a better time in COD and in gaming in general. Black Ops 2. Why do we love it? I know we got into it a little more last episode, but I guess we're here to elaborate.
Yeah.
For Black Ops 2, I mean, honestly, the pick 10 I feel like is probably my personal favorite thing that's in Black Ops 2. Besides the like older school kind of gameplay, and then I mean the zombies is just great because they built upon Black Ops, which was already probably my favorite zombies.
Yeah. Yeah, for me it was the pick 10 is probably one of the best systems ever for creative class. I don't know why they've taken it away. Supposedly, every year they say, oh, we're gonna, they're gonna bring it back or whatever in all the leaks and stuff, and it never happens.
Yeah.
But I think the score streaks for me were the main reason that I enjoyed Black Ops 2. It actually, it makes people play the objective more because they get score for doing that, and it also usually, if you're like a less skilled player, yeah, it can really help you out in getting like even some of the like the lower streaks, as well as like hardpoint. This was the first game where it was added, and ever since Black Ops 2, it's been in every single Call of Duty game because it's a simple mode, right? It's just King of the Hill pretty much.
Yeah, I forgot that was added in Black Ops 2 actually.
Yeah.
I completely forgot about that. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, I think
got me there, dude.
Yeah, I think the only thing that maybe was bad is that the zombies was like way more complex than Black Ops 1 zombies was, and like a lot more was to do with like the Easter eggs and stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, I would say that's probably whenever I personally, I mean, I know you and I both stopped playing a lot of zombies back then, but I know I definitely gave up. Because it was like every time you wanted to play a game, I felt like I had to look up a fucking guide just to understand like how to pack punch a weapon. It was annoying.
Yeah. I think the only map that me and you both enjoyed was probably Town, I think was what it was called, or Farm.
Yeah.
Just because they were like simple maps you could just hop into. No like YouTube videos needed.
And maybe even like Transit, because at least on that map, I mean, you're just riding around on the bus. But yeah,
Yeah.
Oh gosh.
I think Black Ops 3 was like, it was where they took Black Ops 2 and they just made it way more insane with all the zombie stuff.
Oh yeah.
It was like it was basically like every map was a new like Origins or whatever. It's like way too complex.
Way too much. I think. Yeah. I mean, yeah, and then they just went completely crazy with it Yeah, they just went crazier and crazier with each game after that. Like, just more complexity. Like, a lot... to me, it started with the Origin map.
Yeah.
That was whenever you started to have a lot of complexity, in my opinion.
My guy's French now, bro.
I am French. Born French, baby. Yeah, I mean, and then I think I really liked the balance of the multiplayer in Black Ops 2. I know we kind of covered the creative class, but honestly, in that game, I really felt like everything was like reasonable. So like, the ARs were good at like distances, and they were damn good at it, and the submachine guns sucked at far range, but they were damn good. They were they were like damn good up close. Same for pistols. The pistols hit like trucks, which was exciting. I really like that. And I mean, every gun felt good to use. I don't think there was a gun I didn't like using. Even like the launchers, which historically I'm not a big fan of using. I mean, in the modern CODs, I always run a launcher because the score streaks are just so prevalent and easy to get that it's obnoxious. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, is there anything that really stands out about the multiplayer besides the Pick 10?
I think the Pick 10, the reason it was so good in specific Black Ops 2 was also the fact that you're kind of right that like everything was balanced and it had its own like use. Whereas like whenever they brought it back for like, let's say Black Ops 3, there was almost no reason not to run like the RK5 pistol on your class, because it would like one burst, and they eventually made it like 4 burst, or no, sorry, not 4 burst. Like it would take 4 bullets, so you would have to burst it twice, which is still good for a pistol. That's still really good. And so I felt like, there was always something like that in every iteration after Black Ops 2 with the Pick 10, where it was like you had to have like kind of a must-need weapon or a must-need like piece of equipment.
Yeah, I mean...
Whereas like Black Ops 2, they found the perfect balance between everything so that everything was worth like 1 point, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. It's pretty based.
I think that's enough about Black Ops 2.
Not gonna lie. Pretty based. It's just a good game.
No. Yeah.
Gosh, just a good
game. I had this shower thought, and I want your opinion on this meta, because I'm not as much into the indie games, but is there sort of 2 generations of indie games? I would say the first, like, generation of indie games would be 2010 to probably, like, either 2017 or 2020, which would be, like, 2D, and then 2020, to present day is like sort of the 3D era of indie games. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, so yes and no. There really was kind of like indie games have always existed. Obviously, ever since the introduction of that game called Rogue, where it was literally you were controlling I believe it was a $sign through a bunch of pound signs, and you would, like, this is the very first, like, popular indie roguelite that came out, and then you would have, like, random encounters, and it was very, like, rudimentary. I mean, it looked like garbage.
I was using ASCII characters.
Yeah, you remember that game? Yeah. And that was kind of the first iteration. But yeah, I would agree. So, obviously, I think whenever indie games truly gained their prominence was probably around 2012-ish. The Binding of Isaac, the first one, came out, I believe, in, like, it was a Flash game. Gosh, goodness. Let me see. Here we go on Steam. I would say this was probably 2011. Was whenever it was put on Steam, but I can't remember whenever it came out in Flash. The point being, though, is that kind of was like one of the very first games that I saw, and I know there have always been kind of indie games, more or less, especially on PC, but you really never saw it like released on consoles too often. I mean, you had games like that, like, but they were usually pretty shit. If you remember, like, Mine Z or whatever, fucking, just, there was a lot of times they were garbage, but Binding of Isaac really took that, and the developer McMullen, Ed McMullen, basically said, you know, Edmund, he basically said, let's take what we can do and make it good. And so they said, all right, well, we can make 2D assets, we can make 2D maps, like the original Legends of Zelda. We can make 2D projectiles, 2D enemies, 2D just everything. And then we can program that, and it looks good, and it plays good, but that's it, because there's just 2 of us making this game, right? And that was kind of the first time that really happened, that where, like, it gained a larger kind of success. And so, yeah, I mean, there really has been 2 generations. It kind of started out with Binding of Isaac. You have, like, things
Minecraft?
like Dead Cells.
Is Minecraft in there?
You could, I mean, I guess you could throw in Minecraft, because that was an indie game. There's a bunch of like, I'm going through Steam right now. I'm just collecting a bunch.
I was thinking about it. I was like, well, maybe it's not Terraria, like 2D and 3D.
Technically.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't like, there wasn't like 2 generations of different gameplay styles. I guess it's just like, yeah. Because, like, I mean, I would say, like, A Hat in Time is a much more, like, it's, like, the newer generation of indie games.
Mm-hmm. Well, and you never played Binding of Isaac Rebirth, but I would definitely say that there isn't, I don't know about, like, 2 generations, per se, like you're saying, but there definitely was a higher standard once it was kind of realized that you could gain, like, more commercial success than just, like, releasing a Flash game and then everyone plays it for free with ads on it. Like, that's, you know?
Yeah, or, like, I know Cave Story is one of them.
Mm-hmm. Even things,
a lot of them.
Even things like Risk of Rain. They've gotten more complex. They've gotten harder enemies. Especially in the roguelike genre and in the platforming genre, you've had shifts to, I would argue, A Hat in Time is like, takes some elements of like a Sly Cooper-esque game where you're trying to get to a boss. You have things like Dead Cells where you're fighting in different arenas and then you eventually get to bosses. You have Binding of Isaac where you're fighting multiple enemies. You have to know how abilities work. There's a boss every floor. So they take a lot of different formats. Almost all of them have some sort of boss. I mean, hell, you have Darkest Dungeon, a turn-based indie game that came out that's all about recruiting people and then making them fight and picking, obviously it's turn-based, so you pick your attacks. So, I mean, they take many different forms. I would say there has been probably a quality shift for the better, probably around 2015, I think is the real change in that. Because before, it was like Flash games or just little Steam games that were, I mean, there were good ones, Risk of Rain, etc. But, like, the bar for 90% of indie games was not that high until more recently. And that also comes with the prevalence of how easily accessible game-making tools are. Unity, what are some of the other ones? Unreal even.
5, yeah.
Just it's kind of like
RPG Maker.
It's kind of like it's kind of like modern music. Everyone can make a everyone can make a game. Everyone can make an album. Everyone can write a book. I mean, things like that used to be kind of gatekept behind cost. I mean, hell, there are people that are making movies now by themselves that look great. Just the access to making your own media in general has gone up, and therefore the bar of quality has to go up for yours to stand out. Like in music, I'm sure I can find, there's probably 100 people that released albums today. I can promise you they're all garbage. Okay?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm sure there are cases like that for games too, but for indie games especially, but they all get tossed towards the bottom of the pile. If you remember, like, Jim Sterling's big thing of always, tossing, telling asset flips to go fuck off. I mean, there are asset flips, but a lot of times they're just getting slammed. People just don't give a fuck. If the game looks like shit, no one wants to play it.
Mm-hmm.
That's all I gotta say. But yeah, I do agree. There has been a high bar set. And obviously games like Power Wash Simulator, who can forget that? But it's published by Square Enix. Alright.
Wait, what? Is it really?
Yes. Yeah. Oh, Valheim.
What?
You have things like Valheim, too.
Bro.
Valheim's beautiful, right? I mean, for an indie game. So, yeah. I know we haven't played it, but...
Nah.
Yeah, I think so. Maybe the 2 generations aren't gameplay changing, but they're much more graphics focused and just overall quality focus. There's not a lot of bugs with indie games too, which I'm always a huge fan of, because they tend to do a lot of their own QA testing just by actually playing the fucking game. unlike these large devs. Anyways, I guess we'll move on because that's a subject I like a lot. But it's just,
Yeah.
So speaking, I don't know about indie games, but there was a studio created called Deviation Games in 2020 by Jason Blundell and Dave Anthony, both from the Call of Duty franchises. They have never released a game, and that's kind of unfortunate. What was that studio that made Titanfall? Do you remember?
Oh, Respawn Games.
Respawn.
Then they made Apex.
Yeah, Respawn.
Oh.
Respawn was kind of the same case, right? Where a bunch of COD guys left and they went and made their own game.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Kind of.
I would say. Yeah, they actually got a chance to do it.
So I'm kind of sad because I was really hoping that there'd be something that would come out of these guys. I just learned about them a couple days ago.
Oh yeah, no, I've known about like Jason Blundell. He actually made like the zombies side of things.
Okay.
So he did a lot of. He was more responsible for. If you remember Mob of the Dead from Black Ops 2,
I do.
He was responsible for that.
Okay.
And then he was Vince Impella or another dev was responsible for Buried.
Okay.
And then Jason Blundell did Origins. And then he was fully brought on as the zombies lead in Black Ops 3.
Oh, I see.
And he made all the complex maps. And then Black Ops 4, he made all the complex maps for that. So he's more of like the newer school zombies dev.
Never mind, I hate him. I'm glad he failed. I'm just kidding.
He was, yeah, I believe he was let go. Yeah, he was let go from Treyarch before Black Ops Cold War came out, and then he made Deviation Games. So a lot of the zombies guys were hopeful that, this could be something that would rival, Call of Duty Zombies, because in recent years they've really I think they've really, since now they don't charge for the zombies maps, mm-hmm. They really haven't put in the quality there.
No.
Because, why make content for a game mode that isn't going to make people buy the battle pass, right? Or spend money in the store. So
yeah, that's really sad because
yeah,
I don't know. And zombies, my biggest issue with Black Ops 3, and I know this probably wasn't the devs' idea, but the gobble gums that you could pay for and stuff. I don't know. It kind of became about making money in a way. I mean, that was a little bit impactful.
Yeah, with the gobblegums though, you could just I feel like you could grind for them, and it was a lot. I wouldn't say it was a great system, but out of all the systems that they could have added, it's probably the best.
The least.
The best one that activate what?
The least exploitative of players, you think?
No, I mean, obviously, if you could just use gobblegums, that would be the least.
Mm.
But with Black Ops 3 now, at least on PC, you can have a mod that gives you all the gobblegums, so you can just pick whichever one you want. Sure. Now, of course, you can't level up then, right? But who cares? I mean, you're still playing. You're playing zombies, bro.
Yeah, who gives a fuck?
Yeah, but I felt like the gobblegums they were easy enough to get.
Mm-hmm.
But, I mean, I know Activision was definitely pushing for some sort of monetization within zombies.
Oh, for fuck, yeah.
So I'm sure they had to come to a sort of medium, and I think that was probably the best one.
Well, that's why I really don't blame them. I really can't blame them. Because I have a feeling that it wasn't really their first choice.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess in other news, it seems like the big boys, Activision Blizzard I know they did massive layoffs a couple weeks ago, it seems a lot of their quality assurance employees here have formed a union. About 600. Now, I know you and I aren't the biggest fan of unions, but the Activision Blizzard's been, like, really fucking up everyone that works for them.
Yeah, I mean, I don't hate unions, especially if you're in an industry like gaming, where, and especially in terms of Activision, because I know specifically, I think it was before Vanguard or before Cold War, the Activision laid off like 800 quality assurance people for like the Call of Duty franchise. And ever since then, they've had like glitches and bugs and stuff, and so I'm like, well, I don't know why you fired those people, but you know, because you obviously need them. You know,
just mistakes on their part. I think they just haven't been. I think they just haven't been doing as well as they assumed they would. I mean, maybe I'm wrong, but I truly think they thought they could just. They would still be on top, and they're just not. I mean, WoW isn't doing good. Hearthstone's numbers have declined. No one likes Overwatch 2. No one liked the remake of the first, like Warcraft 3. No one liked Diablo 4. COD kind of sucks. Am I missing something? No, I think I got most of it.
No, I think you got everything.
Oh, the mobile game, Diablo Immortal, it made some money, but, I mean, not as much as they assumed. So, you know.
I think the only good game they've actually released is probably, like, Crash Bandicoot 4.
Okay.
But,
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, especially with Hearthstone.
Oh,
I've never looked up a game on YouTube, and the view numbers on the top video that it recommended me were in the thousands.
Yes.
You know?
Yeah, and that... As someone who used to watch a ton and play a ton of Hearthstone, I actually just opened up the game now because I was kind of curious to see where it was, and it's like, holy hell! Like there's so much monetization in this game now. Like the store is like 5 times as big as it was. Gosh, 10 years ago. This game's been out, I think, 10 years now, and. Goodness. Yeah, you can just tell. And every mode has like a battle pass in Hearthstone, and I don't know, it's just, you can tell they're begging for money. They're fucking begging from every game they release now. The microtransactions are just so deep. Even like in Overwatch 2, the change over to the new monetization system, because I think they wanted just more people to pay, because those loot boxes, honestly, were fairly easy to get yourself by leveling up, even though you never got one towards the end of the level. You know, whenever you were like level 100, it really slowed down, but I mean, no one really gave a fuck by then.
Yeah.
I think they've just been expecting bigger gains, and they're just not going to get them.
Yeah, Overwatch 2 is like, I think they were expecting it to do way better, you know. They were like, oh yeah, if we just add a battle pass and add a store, it'll be fine.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, and I think the switch to 5v5 really killed it.
The switch to 5v5 and the change in the promise of what the game would be. You know, we were promised a single player kind of rogue, not like rogue-like, but kind of, right? Where like a single player like survival mode almost, or like a single player like story mode where you would pick different abilities for your character and they would like intertwine and make different things happen. So honestly, they've done it to themselves. They've traded in all their goodwill that they've made over the years with things like World of Warcraft and StarCraft. They traded it all in, and now Microsoft owns them. So, I mean, I don't get too invested. All the crafts, by the way, yeah. I don't get too invested in what they do anymore, because that'll just make you go insane. The only hopeful thing is that Microsoft is pretty hungry to get some big hits under their belt here. And they just acquired the studio. That's why there were all those layoffs before. So, there is a possibility that they'll make their games good again. I don't know.
Make gaming great again. That's all I gotta say.
Said,
Wow. Alright.
Oh, man. Pretty tough, son.
Well, speaking, that was maybe, I don't know, is that like good? Well, it's kind of, this was good news, right? After that,
I mean, towards the end, I guess, still laid off a bunch of people, but you know, whatever.
Yeah. Oh, there's a few layoffs.
No, I don't know. I don't know this next story, so.
Yeah, over the past week, we've had, I think there was a WWE wrestler that passed away. I can't remember his name, but Akira Toriyama died over this past week.
Oof.
He was responsible for for Dragon Ball Z. A lot of his artwork was used for that, and a lot of his artwork was also used for Dragon Quest. And
I didn't know about the Dragon Quest. I knew about the Dragon Ball Z. Oh, on a side note, a little update on the Sweet Baby Inc. situation. The lady that was tweeting about how racist the Sweet Baby Inc. detective group is, or how offensive it is, or whatever, she made a tweet that essentially said Tokiyama made some of the best and some of the worst black characters ever. Anyways, thought I'd throw that in there as well. Because she's a sweetheart.
Yeah. And so players in Final Fantasy 14, which I believe Akira Toriyama, I think he's helped with like a couple of the Final Fantasy games. I'm not too sure.
Okay.
But a bunch of Final Fantasy 14 players basically gathered in, I think, one of the major like cities of the game.
Yeah.
And basically held a like vigil for him.
That's fucking sick.
It reminds me sort of oh gosh, who was it? The guy who played Soldier from TF2, he passed away.
Oh yeah.
And so a bunch of TF2 people got together and like had like a ceremony basically for him.
That's pretty dope. That's sweet.
But yeah,
I said, wow. Wow. I like when our people do that. It's happened a few times too. Like, people sometimes do it for streamers or players. Like, whenever Wreckful died, they held a memorial in WoW and stuff like that. So, it's really sweet.
Yeah. Oh, I guess they added like the slime hat to Final Fantasy 14, I guess, at some point. From like Dragon Quest, the little slime guy.
The important stuff.
Yeah.
Important stuff.
And people dressed up like Goku.
Bro, you can do that in that game? That's kind of cool.
I guess so, yeah. Like orange pants and blue, like a blue boots.
Pretty cool.
Gosh, dude, just like looking at Final Fantasy 14, like the amount of stuff on screen.
Mm-hmm.
It's like names, oh my cities, like holy.
Yeah.
Yeah. I gotta get back. All right, no.
I gotta get back.
Gotta get back into it, boys.
Oh,
no. Me and Meta are not big MMO guys.
no.
I think the only one that you could probably consider, I don't know. I mean, it's more of a looter shooter, but like Destiny, I guess the only one that we really got into.
Yeah, because that's the only one that's like tolerable for us, I think. Yeah, that's pretty tough, son.
Oof.
Oof.
And I guess we've come to our last topic.
Ooh.
This one, I saw all the Call of Duty YouTubers were talking about it, and I looked a little bit into it, and it's a game called Delta Force Hawk Ops, and they revealed like a game. I think they revealed the game like 6 months ago, and I think like last week they showed off some gameplay, and then they also had like a blog post.
Yeah.
And supposedly this game is going to have sort of like 2 modes to it. One of the modes is like, it's basically like Conquest from Battlefield. And the other mode is somewhat like Breakthrough, I guess.
Okay.
And then you have the single player, which is sort of like a reimagining or an homage to the original Delta Force games.
Yeah.
And Delta Force is like, I looked it up on Steam. You can still buy like a lot of the games, but they're all from like 2004 to like 2000 or to like 1999.
Oh wow.
And
okay.
yeah, so like Delta Force is like one of the like OG shooter games, but it was like, it always was playing like second fiddle to games like Counter-Strike or Team Fortress or
so it existed
Call of Duty,
before this. Okay.
All those games. Yeah. But then it's the studio like lost funding, because I don't think they were making, crazy money on it.
Yeah.
And so eventually another studio came in and bought the license to use the game, the game's name basically.
Okay. Yeah. Sure.
Yeah. The gameplay for this new game, if you look at it, it looks like Modern Warfare 2019 and like Battlefield came together and made a game, which
you were showing me
looks hopeful.
A little bit.
Yeah,
I remember it's still no matter how many times you say it, it's not the case or whatever, but it still reminds me of like the Army Recruiter or whatever that game was called. Wasn't it like America Force or some shit?
Yeah, something like that. No, America's Army.
America's Army. That shit is fucking dookie.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm hopeful, we'll have to see whenever it comes out if it makes a big splash or not, but I'm just hoping for a good first-person shooter.
Rip.
On that copium all the time.
Yeah.
Hooked up to the machine.
We're on that copium train, bro. Fuck.
Maybe my wife will let me do it tonight.
The fuck, that's hot. Alright. Yeah. My guy's a little cuck for gaming. Little gaming cuck. I was like, oh. I guess like America's Force. Okay. He just loves it. Oh, wow.
Anything else you gotta add?
Oh, goodness.
Meta? Could talk about Sweet Baby.
We could. Updates on Sweet Baby. We got Sweet Baby Inc. detected growing big.
It was also like exposed that like Sweet Baby is like has like run by another corporation that's run by like another corporation. It's like Ghost Baby and then Baby Ghost or something. It's something like that.
All of them, all the corps that they're owned by too have some sort of weird like association back to like infants or like babies or children.
Or ghost.
Yeah, like.
Yeah, it's some weird shit,
like I think it's like supposed to mean something. You know, I don't know if whoever owns all these companies is like taking the piss out of like the Illuminati stuff or something. Like I don't know. I guess I just don't get it. I guess I'm just not.
Well, I think what it is like whenever you bend to their ideology, it's like, oh, you're being a sweet baby. You know, and they also the co-founder at one of, I think it's the founder at one of the GDCs, which is like a gaming development convention.
I'm well aware.
She was talking about like white male gamers, and she said that white male gamers are basically like crybabies. I can't remember the exact wording, but and so you have to like sort of cater. Or you have to sort of like slowly introduce topics to them in order to not like offend them or something like that. So basically, and this was in like 2014, so I'm sure it's been going on for a long time, where I think games have kind of slowly been introducing topics that the far left would like, white cis men to know.
1,000%. Shut up, phone. Oh my goodness gracious.
Because, I mean, I especially remember specifically in 2015, whenever Assassin's Creed Syndicate came out.
Yeah.
It had, like, I think it had a trans character.
Yeah.
And I think that, which is, like, it's a game set in, like, the 1800s. I was like, I don't know if that's historical.
Yeah. I don't know. I just think, yeah, it's just so strange. It's just strange behavior. I don't know. I don't know. These people, they have nothing better to do. They're constantly angry. Like, it just doesn't seem like a fun way to live. I feel kind of bad for them in a way.
Yeah. I agree. And then they make other people miserable by making games worse. So.
Mm-hmm. Like, I don't think I've ever seen, like, a far leftist truly smile. I don't know if I've ever seen... I mean, I have seen some people on the far right smile, but honestly... It's just...
Nick Fuentes.
Well, yeah. Okay. What about it? Yeah.
No, he smiles often. That's all I'm saying.
He does. He does smile often.
Especially after making an edgy joke.
Yeah. Yeah, I just feel bad for these people. I don't know. That's all we got.
Yeah,
pretty good stuff. I know. I don't really play Power World, but Power World added an acute feature I was watching before we started, where you can let instead of like forcing your creatures to work harder. So they'd like fall asleep on the job or like, essentially abusing them. They now have added in a relax feature where they don't work as hard, but they're really cute and they play around in your base. So yeah, that's wholesome. That's cute. Shout out to the Chinese guys that made that game. Pretty dope.
China, they're stealing our game studios. They're stealing our work.
What?
Right. China, they're taking our jobs. Wow.
No more importation of games from China. That's what I always say. Oh man. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's it for this episode.
It's exciting stuff.
we'll see you guys on the next one.
Mm-hmm.
Have a good day, night, wherever you're at.
Mm-hmm.
Peace.
Stay sexy.